Welcome to Lorology. Sure, other lectures might teach you about math, history, or science, but here we teach equally important things. Stuff like labor unions, power trikes, and psychic grandpas. As always, I am your host, Loricus the Loremaster, and with me are my students, Seth and Brady. Say hi, boys.
Hello, boys.
Today's a very special day, boys. Want to know why?
Because you can finally afford a third dimension?
No! It's because the SQUATS are back, baby! I said, the SQUATS are back, baby!
Like the exercise? Yeah, everybody knows about those.
Yeah, how else do you think that Seth got these nice glutes over here?
Ooh, you noticed!
No. Not squats. SQUATS! Today, we'll be learning about everyone's favorite post-human space dwarves, the SQUATS, or as they're called now, the Leagues of Votann.
Did you see Dude, Where's My Car? Zoltan!
Oh, yeah.
Zoltan!
Zoltan! They don't have thick thighs?
They probably have some very thick thighs, as we'll get into in a second here.
Okay, so squats be doing squats.
So squats be doing squats. Oh, okay.
At least we're on the right page.
Yep.
The story of the SQUATS begins way back in humanity's golden age, before the Emperor took charge of Terra, before the warp storms cut humanity off from itself, before the thinking machines went all Skynet on us. Old Earth was at the height of its power, with millions of worlds at its command. But a vast, sweeping empire needs resources. All those computers, starships, and weapons need to be made out of something after all.
The hard working man.
They're the hard, yeah, they're what's her name? Rosie, the chick that's always flexing?
Yeah.
Rosie the Riveter?
Yeah.
Rosie the Riveter, that's the one.
But with an impressive beard. As it so happens, they'd recently discovered a bunch of planets near the galactic core, whose intense gravities were only surpassed by their vast mineral wealth. Sure, sending colonists to live on super-dense planets might have some long-term effects, but it was probably fine. Maybe. Maybe. So, the old Earth government established several mining colonies on each world and waited for that sweet, sweet moolah to come pouring in.
It's all about the money.
It's all about the Benjamins.
Well, here's the thing. It's not our problem.
No.
It's future generation.
It's future people problem.
Yeah, we get the money.
I need my second yacht.
Isn't that just the state of things? No, it's fine. It'll trickle down. We're good.
I don't know. I have yet to get my paycheck from Jeff Bezos.
Trickle down, Jeff.
But shortly after the colonies were established, the miners found that they couldn't get in contact with Earth. See, while the settlements were putting down stakes, vicious warp storms and a robot apocalypse had cut off the colony worlds from the rest of humanity.
This reminds me of, Oregon Trail sort of thing.
You're just, off to the west and, guess half of everybody dies of dysentery.
Yeah. And while they couldn't reach out to the worlds outside the core, they could still maintain contact with one another within it. Thus, the colonies reached out and established pacts of mutual defense. These newly confederated colonies dubbed themselves the Homeworlds. And for a millennia following the collapse, they gathered power, advanced technology, and grew their civilization. But while their power grew, their bodies shrank. The high gravity of their homeworlds ensured that each generation would get shorter, but also evolved denser skeletons and thicker muscles to compensate.
So, the planet was steroids.
I guess it did shrink some stuff, you know?
It shrank the boys!
The planet of manlets!
I bet these guys are tough as fuck.
And they were even tougher after what came next. Over time, the warp storms subsided, opening the squat worlds to the galaxy for the first time in millennia. A few marauding orcs and even Eldari launched attacks, expecting easy prey. But the SQUATS had developed formidable weapons, impenetrable defenses, and even trained their own brand of psychers called Living Ancestors. When the SQUATS made their strength abundantly clear, the orcs and the Eldari decided it'd be more prudent to just trade with the SQUATS instead of fighting them. The SQUATS agreed that this was a better decision for everybody involved.
Tried real hard to kick their ass, and then they're like, hey, how about instead we just be friends,
If
okay?
you can't beat them, I guess you gotta
Join them? Yeah.
But, unfortunately, these alliances didn't last. One day, the orcs grew tired of being used by the SQUATS for mercenary work, and they figured that they knew how the SQUATS did things, so they could just take all that shiny tech for themselves. So they launched a brutal assault on the homeworlds. When the SQUATS reached out to the Eldari for help, the Space Elves took one look at the conflict and said, nah, before bailing out of the core worlds altogether. The squads did manage to fight off the orcs, but the betrayal of one partner and the abandonment of the other left the squads with a deep grudge against both.
In 40k universe, this is why dwarves hate elves.
The dwarves do love them some grudges.
So why didn't they just leave the colonies?
Yeah, if the warp storms had opened, why didn't they just, fuck off to somewhere else?
Would you guys want to leave your home, especially one that you'd put all of your time and effort into?
That is true, and I guess considering being if we're talking about dwarf characteristic.
Yeah, they're stubborn.
Yeah.
Well, also, if you've been there for millennia, it is home, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Eventually you're just yep, this is where I live now.
But you gotta think there's some squad out there wanting to Luke Skywalker it,
Right? Or just go on a magic carpet ride and see the whole new worlds.
So, you'd think that after being betrayed by aliens and left to fend for themselves, the squats would have had some common ground with the old Imperium of Man. But you'd be wrong. When humanity was reconnecting with its long-lost colonies and the Emperor was in charge of things, they were alright. But once the Horus Heresy wrapped up and the Emperor was put in the throne, things got distinctly more Witchburn-y. The squats started to read the writing on the wall and politely reminded inquisitorial authorities that while they were affiliated with the Imperium, they were their own sovereign power with their own way of doing things.
I would love to see what a squat polite reminder looks like. Just guns pointed at your face hey,
by the way,
why don't you take 3 steps back and fuck your own face? Get out of here.
Polite reminders came in multiple calibers, ranging from 45mm to suborbital bombardment. But near the latter half of the 41st millennia, something changed. Swarms of hungry Tyranids rolled in through the galaxy like a tidal wave made out of sharks. And some say none suffered quite like the squats. One day, what we believe may have been a small force from High Fleet Behemoth entered squat space. Shortly after, the homeworlds went completely dark. For the longest time, it was believed that the swarm had devoured the entire species. Only a few smaller squat worlds seemed to have survived the attack and were promptly annexed by the Imperium.
So Sharknado ate the squats.
Yeah, they're all dead.
Squats became a rarity, with only a few scattered sightings in places like Necromunda, plying their service as vagrant mercenaries. But for a while, it looked like a few surviving squats had signed on with the Tau Empire. But these sightings turned out to just be an alien species called the Demiurge. Though, from what we can tell, the squats seem to be in open trade with the Demiurge around the time the Tyranids came by for a, short meal, as it were.
It's 11 an afternoon tea. We're gonna eat all of you.
So the Demiurge have at least some connection.
Based on what I've heard so far, it almost sounds like I see a crazy some hijinks and Houdinius. Houdinius? Is that a word?
Sure.
I don't know. I feel like the squats played everybody. They're yeah, we got eaten. No. And then they're secretly they all just fucking dip.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're, I don't know, building rebuilding their army somewhere else. They're oh, we're gonna come and fucking
that's so funny.
pop a cap in somebody in a bit. Just give us a few more millennia.
I mean, wouldn't put it past them. Now, looking behind the curtain into the actual history here, Games Workshop mostly killed off the squats because, frankly, they didn't know what to do with them. Space Marines were becoming more defined, and as stuff got more distinct, the squats looked more and more redundant. But the response to this was, well, for lack of a better word, controversial. People had put real money into these models and spent real time painting them. Now all that effort and cash was just meaningless. It was such an infamous decision that to this day, Warhammer fans use the term squatted to describe when a mini character or concept is killed off or written out of the game unceremoniously.
That would make me mad.
Yeah, if you're in college or something, and you have a finite amount of money, but you're really into Warhammer, and you're really into the squats. You build a faction based around the squats, and then Games
Get your army, everything, and then they're oh yeah, all that shit you just did? Nah.
We're gonna go a different direction. Also, dwarves versus space marines, I feel very different.
Here's the thing. Why bring them back after a 20-year absence? And why change their name to the Leagues of Votann? Well, maybe Games Workshop designers figured out a way to make squats more distinct. Or maybe business being what they are, they saw how popular Deep Rock Galactic had gotten and decided to get in on that action. What this does mean is that hopefully we'll get to see a proper antithesis to the Imperium of Man. For the longest time, it's been assumed that humanity fell to its current fascist nightmare to survive the horrors of chaos. But here we have the SQUATS, or the Leagues of Votann as they're now called, doing just fine without becoming oppressive genocidal war criminals. If handled well, the Leagues could show that ultimately, that suffering the Imperium puts itself through is completely meaningless, and nothing could be more grimdark than that. Or they could drop the ball and just have the Leagues be yet another army in the Imperium. Only time will tell!
I don't know. It'd be nice to have them stay like hopefully just distinct, you know. They're
Yeah.
also within.
Maybe they're the only good guys in Warhammer.
I was gonna say the way that it's looking so far, I'm kind of a SQUATS kind of guy.
Kind of a SQUATS fan, I don't know.
If you're gonna take anything from this lecture, let it be this. Support the short kings in your life, preferably with a good codex and some viable meta. Class dismissed!